So we had a pretty exciting show with a ridiculously hot crowd last night, and Trae was actually in the crowd. So we have a live point of view on this show talking about AEW Dynamite last night. I mean, we had uh, Sting ridiculously over. We had big announcement from Sammy. The Young Bucks and Jurassic Express match was super hot. Kind of had a little bit of a lull, but it wasn't like super lull for Penelope Ford and Thunder Rosa. And then, of course, I wasn't sure it was going to work, but it did. And the entire crowd managed to sing Judas without any music.
Yeah, I was like when Jericho's video started, and you could see him kind of coming out through the ramp, and I'm like, oh shit, is this gonna happen or not? And then it slowly started, and then it built. Crowd finally got on the same page. I don't know if you could tell on TV, but there's one point when the verse changes that, like, I think half of the crowd was on, like, tried to go to the wrong verse, but I don't know if it came through on TV or not.
Yeah,
but it was
like half the crowd was
lyrics.
Yeah, it was right before the chorus starts, and some people went. Some people sang one lyric, and some people sang the correct lyric.
Yeah, but that was just so cool. So fun to be the whole show. Like, I was when we were talking right before we went on the air, one of the hottest crowds that I've ever been in, other than, like, you know, Allin and like the Bryan Danielson WrestleMania. But man, I haven't been to live wrestling since, you know, last year's Royal Rumble because of, you know, the everything that has happened. But that was just such a good time, and like, I'm still riding that high.
So, do we have anything that we probably didn't see on TV that you want to talk about?
They taped Dark Elevation, and it is actually airing. I think it's airing right now on YouTube. I'm gonna go watch it after. The main things is, and I'm gonna spoiler it, so if you don't want to spoiler, fast forward like 10 seconds. Daniel Garcia tapped out Matt Sydal, which was in the moment it was a big surprise, but then it made sense later with them announcing Daniel Garcia versus John Moxley for Rampage, and that match sounds like it's gonna rule, man. Daniel Garcia was like new to me when he started in AEW, and he's quickly becoming a favorite just because, like, that's the kind of wrestler that I like. Judging from my Twitter engagements, the two things on Elevation that people were most excited about were Daniel Garcia beating Matt Sydal, and Emi Sakura is back. She was in action against Maddie Rinkowski.
All right, so there was one other thing I wanted to ask you about, and I totally spaced it. Ah, crap. All right, well, we'll get into it. So let's introduce the show here. You're listening to the That's Wrestling podcast. If you're listening to this as a podcast, we do this show live over on Twitch and on YouTube. You can follow the links in the show notes to those channels and follow them, and they'll alert you when we go live and all that fun stuff. If you have any comments, questions, feedback, you can send those to eric@thatswrestling.com. Follow us on Twitter @thatswrestling1 with the number 1. And you can follow Trae @WrestleIsm on the Twitter as well. And you can come hang out in our Discord if you want. And anything you... I'm looking for a few different non-hosting duties for the show to help out. So if you're interested, you can contact me through Discord is usually the easiest way to get a hold of me. We've already introduced him, but Trae is with us tonight, and besides that, how's it going?
Man, it's, you know, life is what it is, but I had a really fun time, so I'm excited about that. Excited about I think New Japan really trying to get those tickets for those Dallas tapings to move, so they've announced Lance Archer, Will Ospreay, Minoru Suzuki, which I'm mainly excited about Minoru Suzuki because, Murder Grandpa. But, man, just enjoying wrestling and appreciating how much is going on in the wrestling world right now that there is to enjoy.
All right, so we start off with Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. They're making their way down to the ring, presumably to be backup for Darby Allin and Sting, but also to cut a promo. But they didn't make it to the ring as 2.0 and Danny Garcia attack them from behind and lay them out in the crowd. So Matt Lee gets down to the ring and he grabs a microphone, says, "Darby Allin and Sting, we just took out your boys, so come on out here, let's get a ref." Sting's music hits. He starts making his way out. Darby's music hits as well, and he runs out of the crowd behind 2.0 and Danny Garcia. They didn't see him, and he attacks with a skateboard, and we are off to the races for the Texas Tornado match, which I did not know was basically just a no DQ match. Sting and Darby Allin versus 2.0 and pretty much Danny Garcia as well.
Yeah, and the funny thing was, I saw, Mox and Kingston is coming out and Wild Thing is playing, so I was really excited. And then, I realized that it was 2.0. I did not see Danny Garcia. I was on the hard camera side, and that happened on, the opposite side. So when they were fighting in the crowd, I couldn't really see what was going on. But I watched the show back, right when I got home, and then so I could see Daniel Garcia took out Jon Moxley's leg, which, that's to set up a match. And then they started the match, and they were brawling all over the place, and like I said, it was basically a 3-on-1. And then Eddie Kingston shows up to get rid of Daniel Garcia. So that was I didn't catch that there live, but I appreciated it when I watched it back. But yeah, live, dude, this was so fun. Yeah, that Sting guy is kind of over. I don't know if you know.
And one other thing, Darby got new entrance video. It's like a cartoon now.
He got that a couple of weeks ago.
I just haven't seen it.
Yeah, I want to say it was it debuted on when they went back to Daly's place, because I just felt like I saw it there, but he's had it for a few weeks now.
Okay, I just saw a larger hunk of it on TV, I guess. That's why I probably noticed.
It's really cool, and apparently made with Rooster Teeth, which I don't know what all they get up to now, but when I was a teenager, they made a web series using Halo called Red vs. Blue.
They still do.
They do, yeah.
It's on season 20.
Yeah, I went back and because I had the first 5 seasons on DVD. I actually went back and watched them a month ago. I don't know if it just speaks to my inner teenager, but still funny as shit to me.
It was in a really old school early Disney style floaty characters that weren't completely stable. I just really dug how it looked.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Anyhow, Darby Allin, Sting, and 2.0 and Danny Garcia, they all brawl. They brawl out into the concourse. They throw Darby Allin up into the overpass, and they brawl back towards the ring. Darby walks down the concrete railing, does a dive onto 2.0 and Garcia. Eddie Kingston joins the fight. He takes out Danny, and then they work their way to the ring. Darby pulls out a table, throws it in the ring. 2.0 take Darby out onto the ramp, set his skateboard up wheel side up.
Oh my god.
Then give him a suplex onto the skateboard. And then Sting fights with 2.0 in the corner, but then he gets picked up, and 2.0 gives Sting a double powerbomb through the table Sting pops right back up and no sells that shit. Puts on a Scorpion Deathlock on both of the guys, so we have a double Scorpion Deathlock, and they both tap out. Darby was also bleeding, but I don't know where it came from. I think he cut his hand.
Yeah, I saw that he was bleeding, but I couldn't tell what happened either. So like I said, I didn't have like a great view of where they were brawling in the crowd, but I did have an awesome view of Darby walking along that thing and diving off of it, so that was really cool. The other, the thing that made me cringe was like the suplex on the skateboard. Like I saw them setting it up. It's like, oh my god, like that. Just I don't think like for $1 million I might do it, but I don't know. there would be some heavy negotiating to get me to take that bump because that looked horrifying. Darby Allin is out of his freaking mind. The Sting no sell spot ruled, and it was so over. And I like the idea that. After surviving the career-ending buckle bomb from Seth Rollins, coming back to immediately be powerbombed to death by Brian Cage, I like the idea that now Sting is just immune to power bombs.
It seems that way, doesn't it? Yeah. I thought this was really fun, and it was a relatively short match, but I mean, this is exactly what you want to do with Sting. He took one bump, and pretty much it was a walking brawl for the rest of it.
Yeah, and they announced today, just a little while ago, 2.0 got their all elite graphics, so they are signed, and good for them, man. Just think, like, these guys were a jobber geek tag team on NXT like a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
It just goes to show you, dude, people will, like, the WWE fans will do the most absurd mental gymnastics, but what it comes down to is that AEW is just so much better at utilizing talent.
Yes, exactly. So, of course, now they're picking up all this talent. I've said in the past, AEW is going to have to start letting people go at some point, but I think you, as well as I, are pretty much assuming they're just going to let contracts run out when they get to the end, and they won't renew, and they won't just be like firing people to get rid of them. Next up, they show Sammy Guevara proposing to his longtime girlfriend Pam before the show, or in the middle of dark. I don't know what they were doing.
Yeah, it was in the middle of Elevation, which I figured it out like as soon as he started talking. I don't think that they didn't show the whole thing, but he came out and was talking about, he's in Houston, which is his hometown, and he was talking about how much he appreciated his family. And as soon as he mentioned his girlfriend, I knew what was up. I watching it back on TV. She looked surprised, so yeah, like, I don't know. I always worry about proposals. Like, you need to kind of Iggy somebody before you're gonna do a public proposal. But she said yes, and good for them.
I think they've been together for like 8 years at this point. So
yeah, and Sammy, like, so I started seeing Sammy Guevara. He's a Texas guy. I was going to some Texas indies, especially when Wrestle Circus was a thing. Sammy was a feature. It was the first place I saw him really featured. So, just so happy to see him when he got to AEW and to see how well he's doing. I'm a big Sammy Guevara fan, and man, so congratulations to Sammy and Pam.
Before we go on to the next little part, Dasha Gonzalez was doing ring announcing duty again tonight. Yeah. So I have not seen anything with Justin Roberts. Is he sick, or is he just taking a week off or vacation, or what? I am not sure. I haven't seen anything.
I don't know, but yesterday JR posted a picture on Twitter that he said was from Houston, and it was at the announce table, and it was like, here it is. Yeah, assuming that Well, no, this can't have been. Never mind, because this was an outdoor picture. Never mind. JR posted a picture saying, talking about Houston, and posted a picture that was not from Houston with Justin Roberts in it. So never mind, I was talking out of my ass.
The question was answered. What has the Spanish announce team been doing? Thunder Rosa has been filling in for Dasha.
Oh, yeah. She did a little bit of English commentary on Elevation last week or Elevation or Dark One to talk about the charity work that they did when they were in Pittsburgh. And she was like, "Yeah, what a treat! I get to speak English." So.
Yeah, they continued on, and it was mentioned that she was on Spanish announce. That's where I picked it up. So she's been filling in for Dasha, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. So after the proposal segment, it went straight to Shawn Spears in the back. He's mocking them and saying, "For one night only, Pam, you can be a member of the Pinnacle, and I'll let you be on top."
Yeah, I could not hear really the video, like when they would do backstage stuff. Every time it seemed like the audio would be out and we would just see the video for like half of it, and then they would kind of kick they would figure it out and kick the audio in for us about halfway through the segment. So I didn't know what was going on during a lot of these backstage segments until I watched it back later.
That's an ongoing issue with AEW. That has been going on since day one, because that happened to me on the second episode of Dynamite, and it's still going on 100 episodes later. 99 episodes later, because this episode is episode 99. Next week is the 100th episode.
Yeah.
So we go to commercial and then come back, and we have Sammy Guevara versus Shawn Spears, and boy, what a match this was, and the crowd was solidly behind Sammy, super loud, and Sammy comes out, he's walking down to the ring, and he gets attacked on the ramp. And the setup for this night, the ramp goes all the way to the edge of the ring at the same height, so it's not like a ramp down to the floor.
And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, I have always loved that, and I wish that was in every building. Yeah, that was the first time that like I was ever at a show that had that. That was really cool. I have been to the Toyota Center for WWE many times, but this was at the Fertitta Center, which is the basketball arena for the University of Houston Cougars. So a smaller arena, and just like I really like that they are AEW they tend to be running a lot of like college basketball arena size places. And
yeah, that's what they run in Boston too.
Yeah.
Instead of going to the Garden, because that's like a 20,000 seater, and the Agganis Center, which is the Boston College University or Boston University's I don't know which one university. It holds like 6,000. That's where they went to last time. That's where they're going to in October as well. So anyways, Sammy and Shawn, they brawl up on the ramp. Spears gets knocked off the ramp to the floor, so Sammy does a cannonball to the floor, gives Pam a kiss, who's at ringside, goes back to fighting with Spears. Spears goes into the barricade, but then Sammy gets thrown into the stairs, and Tully helps Spears with a stuffed pile driver. No, the bell has not rung yet, so the match has not even started. And then finally they get into the ring, and the match does start here. And it looks like they want to give Sammy another pile driver, but Aubrey throws out Tully, which gets the first Aubrey chant I've heard in a very, very long time.
I didn't even catch this. It was so loud that yeah, that was cool. This whole match, like, this was a match that I think if I saw it on TV, I would have been irritated that they did too much. But like live, it was just so awesome. I still think that the kick out of the 630 was like one thing too many, but other than that, this match ruled.
Yeah, so Sammy gives Spears Spears gives Sammy a bunch of knee strikes, blows a kiss to Pam. Sammy hits an Insaguri, but misses a springboard cutter. They exchange chops. Spears hits a vertical Yushigoroshi. That's the best I can call it, because it was basically like a vertical brainbuster into a Yushigoroshi instead of like the normal like Death Valley driver into Yushigoroshi type of deal. For a 2 count there, we get massive Sammy chants. Spears rolls outside, grabs a chair. The crowd mocks him with 10 chants. Sammy goes outside, attacks Spears, and he pulls a extra piece of barricade guardrail out from under the ring and sets it between the apron and the guard and the barricade. Spears and Sammy fight over in the corner. It looks like Spears wants to give Sammy a suplex off the corner onto the guardrail, but they fight there, and then they double jump up from the apron to the top rope at the same time, and both guys are like staring at each other like, and then Spears gives Sammy the middle finger. Sammy hits a cutter off the top
That ruled.
for a near fall. Spears then hits a Death Valley driver off the second rope for a near fall. Spears drags Sammy out onto the apron by the guardrail, but they fight. Sammy fights out of Spears trying to hit him with something. Sammy picks up Spears and gives him a Death Valley driver on the guardrail, throws him into the ring, hits a 630 splash, and Spears kicks out. So Sammy pulls down the knee pad, gives Spears a few shots to the face, which one of them caught him and cut him open pretty bad. And then Sammy lifts him up, gives him the GTH, and gets the victory. I thought this was pretty awesome. It was pretty much a grudge match, and I waffle back and forth about the kick out on the 630. I thought in this particular context, I thought it was fine because it's like a super grudge match between the two of them.
Yeah. Like it did not ruin it or anything. I was just like, I have just a little bit of the wrestling traditionalist in me that like there's a point that I'm like, okay, like I don't want to be an old fuddy-duddy, but you're going a little too far. But dude, just like being there in and I think the main thing, and I felt like for just a second the crowd got a little bit deflated at that kick out, and I felt like, fuck, he kicked out of the 630, they're gonna slip him over somehow. But they didn't. Sammy came back and won anyway, and it was great and everybody was happy.
It basically hit like 3 Kamigoyes in a row. But yeah, one of them really legit caught Spears in the face and cut him open pretty bad. He was bleeding quite a lot. I don't know how bad it looked once he got up, because they basically cut away after that. But yeah, he got the win, and the crowd was ridiculously hot, and lots of celebration from Sammy, and it was all good.
Yeah, dude, this was... This is like we talked about with Britt last week, and like we talked about everywhere. It's such a novel concept. Making somebody feel like a star and putting them over in their hometown and making people happy. This show, like this whole show, being there live really like made me feel like... Because, I've been going to WWE for years, and this show... It's so strange to have a wrestling company that you don't have an antagonistic relationship with. That you're not... They, like, even, with the end of the show being a heel win, like, with just everything... AEW makes you feel like they're happy that you're there, and they want you to have fun. And for all the lip service that WWE gives about putting smiles on faces, like, just the incessant, meaningless heat, and just to make you miserable for a payoff that's probably never gonna come, as compared to, just knowing what you want and getting it with AEW, it's just something that it's a unique experience.
Next up, we have Tony is backstage with Christian Cage. Christian Cage starts to talk, but Don Callis butts in. He says, "Oh, by God, it's great to see you. I haven't seen you in like so long. I basically gave you your start 25 years ago." And Don pretty much talks down to him. And then Christian says, "You think you're getting in my head? No, I'm the one in Kenny's head. I already took this title from him. I'm going to take the AEW title from him as well. Don, you think you're always the smartest guy in the room, but you'll always be a carny piece of shit." How do we make this into a chant? How do we make carny piece of shit into a chant? I think it's too long.
Carny piece of shit. Carny piece of shit. It'll work. I love this because, like, I kind of love Don Callis, but, like, I love him because he is a complete carny piece of shit, and he is completely self-aware about it. So I enjoy him as a manager in AEW so much.
Then they have they basically highlight Dante Martin's performance last week, with him and Kenny Omega and whatnot. Basically, Dante says, I'm going to be a name that everybody's going to know. I had some near falls on the AEW World Champion as well, and I'll just keep getting better.
Okay, that reminds me, he wrestled Anthony Bowens on Elevation. Very good match. A couple of groups of guys tried briefly to start a "We Want Caster" chant, and just nobody was interested.
Next up, we had Dan Lambert from American Top Team. He is back. He goes on a tirade once again. He is joined by Junior Dos Santos and Andrei Arlovsky, and he basically calls AEW a bunch of whiny millennials, and last time they had to send out Lance Archer to beat up a 52-year-old man because they had his feelings hurt, which is funny because Lance Archer is only 8 years younger than Dan Lambert. It's not like they sent out like a 25-year-old to beat him up. He basically says, if anybody wants to come out here and face my guys, go for it. He keeps running down AEW, and Lance Archer comes out, but he is attacked from behind by the Men of the Year, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. They beat him up on the ramp, and that was about it. Dan Lambert should be teaching promo class.
Yeah, he should. So, presumably, Lance Archer gonna need a tag team partner to take on Men of the Year, and the King is coming. So if we get Minoru Suzuki in AEW, just I can't even articulate the giddiness I feel at the prospect.
Jay says that Archer was wearing his Suzuki Gun pants. I didn't notice that.
Oh, I didn't either. That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, good times. Good times. Yeah.
So that would be awesome to have Suzuki teaming up with Lance Archer against the Men of the Year. That would be pretty awesome. Oh god,
I need to see Minoru Suzuki choking out Ethan Page.
Next up, we have Jericho. He's backstage. He's just talking to the camera. He says, for the past 4 weeks, I've endured all the labors of Jericho. I've had chairs bashed in the back of my head, light tubes broken over my head. I had 14 power bombs last week, and it's all been worth it because tonight it will be Jericho versus MJF. I may not have Judas, but I have the upper hand on MJF. You're not as good as you think you are. I'm going to beat you here tonight. It's going to be Jericho up, my jerk-off friend down.
Yeah, I was. This was probably the one that I could hear the best, so I appreciated quite a good promo.
I mean, he was using a handheld mic, so maybe they managed to patch that through correctly.
Maybe that was the deal.
So next up, we have Jurassic Express challenging the Young Bucks for the AEW Tag Team Championship. Marco Stunt came out with the Jurassic Express, and for the Bucks, we had, I believe it was Anderson and Brandon Cutler and Michael Nakazawa came out with them, and Don Callis as well, but he went over to commentary.
And Gallows.
Gallows was not out there to begin with, was he?
Oh, he wasn't. I thought so.
I don't think because he came out from the back later.
No, I vividly remember seeing him leave to go to the back and then come back.
Got it. Okay. I guess it just, there's just too many damn people that come out with the freaking Elite these days. Nick is such a good heel. He is just playing it to the crowd. He is doing the Macho Man finger in the air, walking around. He's on the outside. He's playing with the cold spray, putting it in his armpits, and then he turns around and he's putting it down his pants, and Jungle Boy hits him with a crossbody to the floor. Luchasaurus ends up punching Nick when he's stumbling around near him. I think he was doing the going to tag into the wrong corner, so Luchasaurus just punched him in the face. But he does go over, gets a tag to Matt, and Luchasaurus tagged in as well. Luchasaurus takes out both guys. Jungle Boy tagged back in, hits a senton, hits a Rana off the apron to the floor. Matt hits Jungle Boy, and then Luchasaurus drop kicks the knee, or tags in. We have a crossbody to the floor over the post from Jungle Boy. Was it from Jungle Boy, I think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. We have a massive Young Buck suck, let's go Jungle Boy dueling chant. It was really not a duel because it's the same sentiment. They get the heat on Jungle Boy. Luchasaurus gets a hot tag. Tons of strike. Nick hits the running knee, but Luchasaurus shrugs off the bulldog from the corner. Nick hits some more kicks, goes up top, but Luchasaurus knocks him down, and then Jungle Boy hits I'm going to call this the Saurus superplex, because he stepped up onto Luchasaurus's shoulders to hit a superplex on Nick. It looked like they were starting to lose their balance, so it didn't land that great, but both of them came out okay. Luchasaurus tagged back in, bunch of kicks. They hit the extinction event on Nick, but Nick kicks out. Both Bucks come in, hit a bunch of super kicks on both guys. They hit an indie taker on Jungle Boy for a 2. Marco.
That was not exactly an indie taker. When I saw that spot, I knew that it looked familiar, and I couldn't quite place it until somebody posted a GIF later. That was another Masato Yoshino tribute spot that Dragon Gate wrestler that recently retired after a great career. He would do that spot where he would do the drop kick and the senton at the same time. So, You know what? Good on the Bucks for doing a Speed Star tribute spot.
They've used that spot before.
Yeah,
I've seen him do it before. So Marco, he jumps up onto the ramp. He's on the edge of the apron. He's cheering on Jungle Boy, encouraging him to get up. Kenny runs down and whacks Marco from behind with a chair. He throws the chair into the ring to Matt. When the rest of the Elite on the other side, they pull the ref. Christian runs out. He spears Kenny on the ramp, and they fight up towards the stage. Matt sets up the chair, but Jungle Boy ends up hitting Matt with a brainbuster on the chair. Nick has to break up that pin. The Jurassic Express hit the Thoracic Express. Nick breaks that up. Everybody tries to get involved from the Elite. Luchasaurus does a moonsault to the floor onto all of them, but in the ring, when Luchasaurus is dealing with the rest of the Elite on the outside, Nick and Matt hit the BTE trigger on Jungle Boy and get the victory.
Love that finish. This match was so much fun live. I never had the moment where I thought that the challengers were going to win, but it was because I could see like everything, so I could see that the other buck was always in a position to save. There was one point that I was looking at this like, dude, Nick needs to move right now. And he did, but their timing, man, they just nail it every time.
Yeah, the Thoracic Express, that one was close.
Yeah, I think that was the one that I was thinking about.
Yeah, it's the flip over. It's kind of like the flip over senton dealio.
Yeah,
or flip over power bomb type of deal. So after the match, Gallows is beating on Christian. He carries him down to the ring. Kenny and the Elite beat him up. Kenny hits a one-winged angel. Dawn does a 3 count. And that was that segment. But Kenny did have another CM Punk reference this week. He was wearing a Chick Magnet shirt.
Did not. I couldn't tell, so I didn't see it till later. But yeah, very. Tony Khan posted a tweet a little while ago that was talking about, it was just alluding to the excitement of Rampage, and I'm like, man, just the fucking. I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say, but just the anticipation for that show, and then like the card that they announced for it, which, you know, it looks like a fun hour, but in terms of marquee, like, it's like if you don't know, you're like, why are they like they're gonna put that card on at the United Center? But then like, it's so funny that like everybody knows, but nobody is saying, right?
Right. I am assuming the reason that they're having a Dark Elevation tonight is that they're going to film another one tomorrow, because obviously if you're going to have the United Center, you're going to have like a 3-hour show for them, you know? So you're going to have 2 hours of other stuff for them.
Yeah, probably. I assume so. And I don't know. I thought, I don't know. It made sense that they want to see, they want Daniel Garcia to get a win over somebody with some credibility before he wrestles Moxley. So that was why he submitted Matt Sydal.
Right, that too. All right. So next up, we had Tony was with Brit Baker. She says, "Yeah, I'm still the champ. I brought in a fixer, the problem solver, Jamie Hayter." Jamie Hayter. What?
Tyson Tomko.
Tyson Tomko. Jamie Hayter cuts a promo. She cuts a really good promo and basically says, "How do my boots taste?" And challenges Red Velvet to a match, which is going to happen next week, I believe. Yes.
I believe so, yeah.
Yes, next week. So we will get to see Jamie Hayter in action next week against Red Velvet. And if I remember correctly, she's pretty damn good, so hopefully that is a decent match, and we have another good high-level competitor in the women's division in AEW.
Yeah, I think that will probably be good, because she is good, and Red Velvet is, like, shockingly good for her level of experience, so yeah, that'll probably be pretty good.
She's a good talker, too. Like, I haven't heard really much talking from her until this promo, and she, like, nailed it.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Matt Hardy promo, basically saying that he'll beat up all of the best friends. Orange Cassidy says, "Matt says he thinks he can kick my ass. Let's find out about that."
Yeah. That'll be fun.
Tony Schiavone introduces Paul White, and Tony thanks him for coming out last week to help his kid. He says it felt good, and he was happy to give Solo a ride that he wouldn't forget while staring daggers through QT. But I have an announcement I want to share with you guys. QT Marshall interrupts, says, "Houston, we have a big-ass problem. I want to stop you right there before you say something you can't deliver on, because here in AEW, if we say something, if we're going to say we're going to deliver something, we do it. And we don't want to let them down." A little bit of banter back and forth. QT brings up that I was gonna say Big Show. Paul White has had like 5 surgeries in the past 18 months. He puts up some pictures of White's hip surgery or x-rays and the giant scar on his side, and Paul White is like, what, you think this embarrasses me? He says, you don't know anything. I've had a little talk with Tony Khan, and that's why at All Out I have a match. And guess who my opponent's going to be? At All Out, it's going to be Paul White one-on-one with QT Marshall, and QT Marshall looks like he shit his pants.
See it live, but when I looked it back, oh my god, QT. Dude, I don't know, like, why we're the only ones. Like, people are so negative on QT, and he's just, like, he's so good at everything he does.
I know. Like, every podcast I listen to, they crap all over QT. And for some reason, both of us realize the genius of QT.
Yeah, because we fucking understand wrestling. Speaking of that, look. I understand everybody's got their own taste. But, dude, if you are not down with Paul White squashing QT Marshall in, like, 3 minutes on a pay-per-view, I think you just don't like wrestling. Were you the one who... Oh, no, it was somebody else, I think. Did you see the Twitter post that somebody says, oh, if you need a quick COVID test, just ask yourself, do I like WWE right now? Because if you do, then you don't have any taste. I saw that, yeah.
Next up, we had a Jade Cargill video, basically rehashing everything that they usually do, except they're talking about Keira Hogan, and it's going to be Keira Hogan versus Jade on Rampage.
Yeah.
This match better deliver at this point.
Yeah, Keira Hogan is pretty good. So
I saw her match with Chris Statlander on Dark, and I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, I've seen Jade wrestle a lot on Dark and Elevation, and they have done good to keep it short. And I hope, like, I know they're gonna have to give this, like, I don't know, a little bit of time maybe, but I'm gonna try to be optimistic.
So, time will tell. We go backstage with Tony is making his rounds. He is running around on this show. He is everywhere. Tony is backstage with the Elite. Dawn says that the Bucks are the greatest tag team in the business. And I'm going to make you guys a suggestion. 2-month vacation. Go buy some shoes. And then Tony's like, well, wait a second. We're actually going to have a tag team title tournament starting next week with, starting on Rampage, with the Varsity Blondes, Lucha Bros, Jurassic Express, and Private Party. The winners will face the Bucks at All Out in a steel cage.
Yeah, I still assume that that's Lucha Brothers. Seems like what they've been billed to, and I think that that'll be really cool and terrifying, because if those guys are in a cage on a big pay-per-view, they're gonna do some absolutely crazy shit. And it's cool because 2 years ago at All Out, they had the Escalera de la Muerte ladder match, so, you know, history there. I think the interview spot was, like, just right past Gorilla, because one of those segments I saw with Tony, like, he was there, and then the screen came off, and like 15 seconds later, I saw Tony walk back out the tunnel to the table, so I think it was just right there.
Yeah, I'd assume it's right back there, to make it easy. Anyways, we move on. Taz introduces himself and Hook, and then introduces the FTW champion, Ricky Starks. Ricky says that he is His title is For the World Champion. Brian, he says that Brian Cage, we seem to be missing each other, so I want to talk face to face, so let's bring him out. They pop up on the screen. Powerhouse Hobbs has beaten up Brian Cage, and he's laying on the ground. But then Brian Cage gets up and he starts making his own comeback. And Ricky is like, no, cut that off. We don't want to see this. And then they all run to the back.
Ricky Starks is great. Kaz is great. Hook is great. Hook is great at being Hook. I like this. It's fun stuff.
Next up, Tony, once again, he is with Death Triangle, and Pac says that he's glad to fight Andrade El Idolo at the same event where he beat Kenny Omega 2 years ago. Andrade comes in and says, if you want a match, you have to agree with my conditions. Chavo hands them like a ream of paper for this contract that they want. And Chavo says that he then addresses the Lucha Bros, saying that if you guys win the title tournament, you'll never be champions with a boss like him, referring to Pac.
Yeah. Death Triangle was in action against the Dark Order on Elevation, the very last match that they taped. And Andrade came out and sat in the front row to watch. And me and Pac antagonized each other. Did you see Andrade and Kenny Omega from Triple Mania?
I did not.
It was alright.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
I am like, I remember like Sombra years ago, like in New Japan and stuff, and he was awesome. And I remember Andrade being really awesome in NXT, but I'm starting to wonder, like, was Andrade actually awesome, or am I just remembering it that way because Johnny Gargano was really awesome?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm having the same problem.
If Andrade does not have a killer match with Pac, I'm gonna be concerned.
Yeah, then we have problems.
Yeah.
All right, next up we had Penelope Ford versus Thunder Rosa. Penelope was not wearing her normal gear. She had to go out and buy whatever she could, so she pretty much was wrestling in like a normal bra because her bags got lost.
Yeah, I saw people talk about her Twitter just from being there. I was like, oh, she's got a new look. She's wearing all black now. But no, she lost her gear, and so I didn't really notice it live, but I noticed it when I watched it back. There was a couple of spots where she almost tripped because, you know, she didn't have wrestling boots. She was wrestling in whatever. My main thing here was it, like, you hear it if you watch, like, you know, Dynamite and Elevation, since they've been back in front of crowds. But somebody's talking about, like, you know, everybody always talked about the Road Warrior pop. We're getting to a point where we're gonna have to talk about the Thunder Rosa pop. I posted, especially in Texas, I posted on Twitter because I knew I got like the last few seconds of, you know, Penelope's entrance music, and then as soon as Thunder Rosa, the song hits, people lose their minds.
So we had Rosa. She hits a drop kick, a few strikes, running elbow, tosses Penelope over the top rope to the apron, drop kicks her off the apron. Penelope then runs Rosa into the post, hits a cutter on the floor. Penelope hits a kick, a drop kick, a double knees to the gut on the apron. Rosa fights out of a dragon sleeper, hits a running elbow. Ford hits a running boot, and then another one. Rosa avoids a third running boot, hits a running clothesline in the corner, wrecking ball, double knees, missile drop kick, butterfly suplex for a 2, and then Ford slips out of the Fire Thunder driver, attempts a roll up for a 2, and then she gets on the Moodle lock, but Rosa rolls out, gets on a single leg crab, Death Valley driver for a 2. Ford hits a double knee gut buster, which actually looked pretty awesome. She puts on the Moodle lock again, but again, Thunder Rosa rolls out, gets on a rear naked choke with a captured leg, and Penelope Ford has to tap out.
I like this match. I thought it was really good. I think everybody was kind of trying to catch their breath and watching. So this was the match that, like, you know, wasn't particularly hot outside of the entrances, but like it was a good match. And it just seemed to me like, you know, everybody was just kind of watching and recharging because, you know, we had to sing in a few minutes.
Yeah, this should have been more like the. Actually, it probably would have done good as the first match on the card instead of the fourth. But, you know. Anyways, yeah, but the match was fine. It was a win for Rosa. Penelope's been doing decent on Dark lately, so she can eat a loss here. It's not a big deal. Where the hell is Kip Sabian? I've seen him in pictures with Penelope backstage, but he has not been on. He like hasn't been coming down with her to the ring or anything. I'm assuming he's going to be back soonish.
He's hiding from Miro.
That's true. I forgot about that. He's going to have to deal with Miro. Never mind. He can't come back until he's cleared. Next up, we have Tony once again backstage talking to Arn Anderson and Brock Anderson. Arn says that, you know, things in AEW can happen fast, and before you know it, you're in turmoil. A few weeks ago, Malachi Black kicked my head off. He kicked Cody's head off. And then I find out that next week, Brock has a match with Malachi Black, and he doesn't want Brock to do it. Like, he's only had a few matches. You know, this is not the time. And Brock says, I'm not asking you this time. I'm telling you.
Rest in peace, Brock Anderson. We hardly knew ye.
They announced the card for next week, or at least 4 matches for next week. We have Lucha Bros versus the Varsity Blondes. That's going to be part of the tournament eliminator. Orange Cassidy versus Matt Hardy. Jamie Hayter versus Red Velvet. And then Malachi Black versus Brock Anderson. And then we have for Rampage tomorrow as we're recording this, so for Friday, Jurassic Express versus Private Party. That's another title eliminator match. Jade Cargill versus Keira Hogan. How do you saying that name? I think it's Kira, right? Kiara. There's not enough letters for that.
Kiera. It was exactly the right letters.
That'd be like Kira. There needs to be like another. Never mind. Kiara Hogan and then John Moxley versus Daniel Garcia.
Yes. So psyched for Mox and Garcia. That's gonna be fun.
Once again, Miro cuts another awesome promo in 25 seconds. He says, after Rampage, I did not forgive Fuego del Sol. I wanted him to earn the contract. I wanted to better him through suffering, but he took the easy way out and accepted something he wasn't entitled to. And a man like this cannot be forgiven. God shows me the Old Testament way to serve him every day, and my hot wife every night.
Oh my god, that line was phenomenal. I love Miro. Miro's the greatest.
There's something missing. You can all stand by or run away in fear. If they don't come for me, I will come for you all. Eddie Kingston, the Redeemer, wants to talk.
Dude, Miro and Eddie Kingston, sign me the fuck up.
And then Moxley, once again, shows that he is the best promo in wrestling right now, because he probably cut this one take without even thinking about it. I did not write it down word for word, because he spit out a lot in the short time that he was given. But basically he says...
he cut a promo on everybody.
Yes. The events from earlier shows that everybody wants a piece of AEW now that they're the hottest promotion, selling out buildings, changing the game. What makes them think it's so easy? I see Kenny Omega. He needs an army around him. Adam Page, a white knight on a white horse, calls himself a cowboy. He can't get over his high school drama BTE bullcrap long enough to get the job done. Christian, he should have stayed retired. I would just run him over. I'm the guy who carried the flag during the dark times, during the uncertain times. We planted that flag on Wednesday nights, and now you want a piece. Well, I'll show you. Young Mr. Garcia, you want a taste of the main event? Well, I'll give it to you on Rampage. But before, you need to ask yourself, is this what you really want? The ref and ringside doctor are there for your safety, but those are not of my concern. Think about if you really want to be top AEW, because this is no joke.
Mox is fucking phenomenal. Somebody pointed out on Twitter, like, Mox cut a way better promo for a match on Rampage than most people do for pay-per-view main events.
Yes.
This was... Dude, he's just... You know, I think about... Somebody asked on Twitter, you know, who did WWE, like, most missed the boat on? And how is the answer not Jon Moxley? Like, they had him. Dude, everybody knew in, like, 2014, like, man, if this guy's got it, if you give him something, this guy can be a huge fucking megastar.
And given Miro is doing right now, that was a giant miss the boat. But we already knew this when Miro Day, when Rusev Day happened. They had gold right there, but then they squandered it.
They are very bad at utilizing talent.
But yes, Jon Moxley is probably the biggest whiff that has gone over to AEW.
Yeah.
So then we move on to the fifth labor of Jericho. MJF versus Chris Jericho. The entire crowd sings Judas, which we mentioned that I didn't think it was going to work, but they managed to make it work, which was just amazing. Jericho tries to get on the Lion Tamer right away, but MJF bails. Jericho hits a springboard dropkick to MJF off the apron, and then a crossbody to the floor. Jericho gets run into the barricade. MJF grabs the camera just like Jericho usually does, and he's giving the crowd the middle finger. He's turning all the way around 360, and then he turns around and Jericho's standing right there, and he waves at him and punches the camera lens and punches the camera into MJF's face. It looks so good on TV.
Somebody on Twitter said that him punching the camera was stupid, and Lance Storm, God bless him, chimed in, have you ever had somebody, like, nudge a pair of binoculars into your eyes? It hurts like shit.
Yeah. I have, I went to film school, so I've had plenty of cameras, and for film cameras, you have to have your eye on the eyepiece pushed all the way against it, because any light that comes in the eyepiece ends up exposing the film. So you have to push your, and if you run into anything, or, like, the dolly comes to a sudden stop and you smash your face into it, it hurts!
I imagine.
Back in the ring, Jericho hits a bunch of forearms. MJF runs. He throws Jericho into the turnbuckle, and he starts working the injured arm. MJF bites Jericho's hand, keeps working the arm. MJF gets a "You ain't shit" chant. I haven't heard that one in a while. I don't think I've heard that one in like a very, very long time. Jericho hits a clothesline and some shoulder tackles, double sledge off the top off the top. Jericho gets thrown into the turnbuckle, and then MJF pulls off the arm brace. It's a double stomp to the elbow. Jericho chops MJF in the throat and then hits a lion salt for a 2 count. Jericho hits a bunch of stomps, a bunch of lariats, and gets a "fuck him up, Jericho, fuck him up" chant.
Yeah, dude, the crowd was so loud and hot that I couldn't make out like a lot of the stuff, but just, this was really awesome to be there for me.
A bunch of punches on the top rope, a top rope Rana for a 2 count. MJF goes right into the salt of the earth armbar out of the kick out though. MJF bites the hand, ref doesn't see it. Jericho rolls through and gets on the walls of Jericho for a second, but MJF keeps the roll in that same direction to get out of it. They then stand and throw punches. MJF snaps Jericho's arm on the top rope, hits a heat seeker pile driver for a 2 count. Jericho gets on a sleeper, but the MJF grabs the ref's shirt and back kicks Jericho, gives him a low blow, and then puts on the walls of Jericho himself. Jericho gets to the ropes. MJF grabs the diamond ring, but the ref turns around and notices it, takes it away, and while she is giving it to the timekeeper, Jericho hits MJF with Floyd the Bat, but he hesitates because he can't go for the Judas effect because the ref had turned back around, and that hesitation, MJF hits a Judas effect of his own, gets on the Salt of the Earth armbar. Jericho tries to roll it into a pin, but MJF just kicks it back out into the armbar, and Jericho has to tap, and he loses the 5th labor of Jericho to MJF, and they go off the air.
Yeah,
I almost thought that they were going to a time limit draw.
I actually, like, as soon as they said TV time remaining, I thought, that could very well be the thing that they do. I just kind of had in my head that, well, okay, a babyface win makes sense for the story, and I was just kind of thinking that way, and then when this finish happened, I was like, duh, that was the right finish, so of course that's what they did.
Yes.
Jericho putting the guy over clean in the middle with his hold, and, the deal with the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle is not over. So you had MJF has won the singles program, and I think, as long as kind of when eventually they do a blow off and the Inner Circle gets, a big final win over the Pinnacle, I think that would be good. But man, you cannot fault Chris Jericho for any of the way that he's been used in AEW. He was the first world champion because he had to be. Because it had to be somebody with some level of mainstream recognition to be the first champion when they were starting on TNT.
Mm-hmm.
But, since then, he's lost every program that he's been in. He lost the program to Moxley. He lost to Orange Cassidy. He lost to MJF. He's doing the right thing. He's putting people over.
I guess the question is, what is in store for All Out for MJF and Jericho? Do we play this back because MJF's going to be gloating like crazy and Jericho's going to challenge him and say, I'll put my career on the line for a match at All Out?
I don't think so, because that's not AEW booking to do a rematch like that. So after the show went off the air, first, after MJF left and Jericho was laying there, they started to play Judas for a second and then stopped. And then everybody chanted "Thank you, Jericho," and kind of everybody was kind of treating it like a farewell. And I don't know, I wonder because with the world somewhat opening up, is Fozzy about to go on tour and he's going to be away for a bit?
Yeah, but they usually only do weekends anyways, so he always kept it open to have Wednesdays open.
Yeah, could be. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think they're going to do another singles match anytime soon. I don't know. Man, AEW is, and I think it's something that people are struggling to wrap their brains around because they're not used to it. And but with like when someone asked Cody about putting the match with Malachi Black on Dynamite instead of the pay-per-view, he said, well, we're a TV company first and foremost. Most of our money comes from TV. There's no reason to hold stuff off for pay-per-views.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of wrap your head around, okay, we get, because we actually get, like, not every Dynamite, but it feels like 3 Dynamites out of every 4 have, like, some pretty decent marquee match lineups.
Yeah.
And I think that is the goal, is to have a couple of 1 or 2 significant matches, you know, on, like, maybe, you know, 2 on Dynamite, 1 on Rampage, like, you know, really significant matches.
Yeah.
And there's 4 pay-per-views a year, and those are special events that are going to have great cars and be special, but it's doesn't minimalize the importance of the TV shows. That it kind of feels like, in a way, in terms of importance, that like any given episode of Dynamite is as important as a pay-per-view.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the tour schedule for Fozzy. It's pretty tight in September, but he does have all the Wednesdays off. He does not have all the Fridays off. Fozzy is actually playing on the 3rd, September 3rd, which is the same night as the Rampage in Chicago before All Out. So there's that, and then their October, they have the Rockin' Rager. If that is still going to happen, who the hell knows by the time that happens. And then December, he is probably really, it's only like missing like 1 week because they're going to the UK, or they're 2 weeks probably because they're going to Europe. So he's probably not going to fly back for that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see what Chris Jericho does, and then he's gonna have to renew his contract in January or so. So his contract is almost up with AEW. So we'll see what he plans to do come 2022, basically.
Yeah, you think Vince is gonna back up the Brinks truck just to do the Vince thing of everybody always comes back to me eventually? You think he's gonna try?
I don't know. And I guess the question is, would Jericho want to?
I really don't think so. I just I had been quite behind on my podcast. I just listened to the interview that Dave and Brian did with Jericho like a month or so ago about the book, and he talked about, I'm gonna keep doing it until I can't do it at a high level anymore. I was actually thinking about that during the match when he did the lion salt, and I'm like, every time, especially like the older he gets, every time he does it, I'm terrified for half a second, because I saw what happened to Hayabusa all those years ago. But he nails it every freaking time, and I remember like a couple of years ago that people were saying stuff about him still doing lion salt, and he said something to the effect of, when I can't do the lion salt anymore, I don't need to be wrestling anymore. And he said again on the podcast that, you know, like I said, he's going to keep going until he feels like he can't do it at a high level anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, he's doing everything freaking, like I said, he's putting people over, he's helping build for the future, he's giving back to the business in a big way, and you gotta respect that. And dude, like, there's still some meat on the bone, especially with him, you know, only kind of working like irregularly. Like, I feel like at some point, like, I really want a Jericho Tanahashi rematch, and just, you know, stuff like that. there's still stuff for Jericho to do.
Yeah, and you know, he can definitely still modify his style. I mean, he doesn't work a high-flying style anymore these days anyways. It's more of a brawling style, but he still does a few things. He's been doing the top rope Rana lately, which is something that he had not pulled out until a few weeks ago. But I mean, if a guy like Sting can just come out, brawl for a little bit, get powerbomb through a table, pop up and put on a submission, then Jericho could do that. He's in way better condition. He's in way better like physical condition than Sting is.
Yeah, he's going for kind of a Ray Stevens type brawler thing, which there distressingly little Ray Stevens footage exists. Like especially like I don't think there's anything of him when he was in his prime, teaming with Pat Patterson or Nick Bockwinkel in California. But like if you've seen just a little bit of Ray Stevenson, you know that he was fucking awesome. And like Jericho saw a lot of Ray Stevens because when he was growing up, Winnipeg was an AWA town. So hey man, that's if that's what you're gonna go for, I am in for that.
All right, sounds good. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up here?
Nah, not that I can think of. Just man, if you get the chance to go to AEW Live, go.
As far as New Japan, we're gonna cover Resurgence tomorrow. At least that's the plan. If you're still up for it.
Yeah, I think so. I have not seen the tag league yet because I was waiting for the English commentary.
Me too. So
yeah, he was doing the strong tapings in California, so he was busy.
Yeah. So yeah.
Speaking of, this isn't our New Japan podcast, but thank God, Kevin Kelly is going to Japan for the G1, so there will be live English commentary for all shows for the G1.
Yay.
Yeah.
That's going to be good. So I guess we'll review something tomorrow. It's going to be at least Resurgence, and then who knows when we'll finish up the Tag League if the English commentary pops up. Maybe later in the weekend, maybe on Sunday or something like that. But we'll be back for Rampage, I'm guessing, on Saturday. And yeah.
I reckon.
Should be a good time. So thanks everybody for watching and listening. If you're listening to this as a podcast, we do the show live on Twitch and on YouTube, so you can come hang out and join the chat and send questions in while we're talking if you need to. Comments, question, feedback, you can send those to eric@thatswrestling.com. Follow us on Twitter @thatswrestling1 with the number 1. There is a link to our Discord as well in the show notes, so you can come hang out there. Drop by your favorite podcast app of choice and drop us a review. It helps out. If you're interested in helping out the show at all, get a hold of me. I have a few tasks that I'd like to get done. I just haven't had the time to do it. So if somebody would be interested in taking over a couple tasks, that'd be cool. I think that is pretty much it. You can follow Trae @WrestleIsm on the Twitter. So for Trae, my name's Eric LaRoche. You've been watching and listening to That's Wrestling. See you later, guys.
Bye.